Tesla has become the most talked about cars of today. While I enjoy driving my Model Y on a daily basis for the last 7 months and over 10,000 miles, I have come across a couple of instances, and those are the moments I wish I had a gas car instead. Don't get me wrong, I still love driving my Model Y on a daily basis. However, there are a couple of use cases that I think Tesla may not be the right fit, or EV in general, and that's when you'll regret the hassle of owning an EV. So now that I've been driving my Model Y for over 10,000 miles, in my experience, there are only 3 use cases. If you don't fall into any one of these use cases, then go ahead, order your Tesla or your EV. You're gonna be fine. You'll enjoy driving a Tesla. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Simon here at Money Host, where I talk about Tesla, investing in the stock market, and credit cards. So today in this video, we're going to talk about 3 reasons why you might want to consider avoid getting a Tesla or an EV in general. So these are the 3 main reasons that you want to consider when ordering a Tesla or getting an EV in the future. However, if you don't fall into any one of these categories, you're going to be fine. Okay, so the first one, if you make frequent road trips that are over 400 or 500 miles, you'll notice that you're stopping more often to refuel and recharge your car. You'll be stopping to refuel at least a couple times more than a regular gas car. And each time you stop, that's 20 minutes to charge and another 10 minutes of just having to stop and then get back on the highway. So that's half hour each time you lose. I think this eventually gets tiring and you start to think that this is a waste of time. Plus, I personally get range anxiety the moment I hit about 20%, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who gets these range anxieties. However, on a positive note, if you are taking a 500-mile or longer road trip, maybe having a Tesla would be good since Autopilot would be doing most of the driving for you. In case if you're not sure, Autopilot is Tesla's version of advanced cruise control, which is probably the best out there. It will do most of the driving, from maintaining your lane, maintaining the speed, and if you need to cross someone over, it'll do most of the things for you. Even if you have to change your highway, if you'll take an exit and get on another highway, it'll do all that for you. And you get all these at the expense of having a couple of extra times that you have to stop to refuel. But if you don't make any regular road trips that are longer than 400 or 500 miles, at least a couple times a month, then don't worry, this probably doesn't apply to you, and you can go ahead and order your Tesla. Enjoy. I think you will actually like driving a Tesla. So however, on a shorter road trips that are less than a couple of 100 miles, I have been driving my Tesla to everywhere I went. So that way, if I'm leaving from point A to point B and my entire commute is less than 200 miles, I have absolutely no problem taking my Model Y, and I have the long range version. In theory, I get about 297 miles when charged to 90%. However, when I'm blasting the AC or heat, I may get a little bit less. So with that, Teslas are perfect for shorter road trips. But I just get some sort of range anxiety when I go on a long road trips, especially to areas that I have never been before. So I don't want to be in a situation or in a location where I don't know the area too well, and I don't want to be looking for a Tesla supercharger or something that I may not know the area. So regardless of which Tesla you get, you'll have to stop every 200 or 250 miles on average to refuel, to recharge your vehicle at a supercharger or some other chargers that you can find. So with my long range Model Y, I get about 297 miles when charged to 90%. However, I like to refuel or recharge the moment I hit around 200 miles. So sometimes all the superchargers don't line up to be 200 miles apart. So sometimes I just stop every 2 hours on average. So this past weekend, I drove to Cleveland, Ohio, which is a little bit over 500 miles from where I am. So especially at a new place, I just didn't want to have any range anxiety. So instead, I just went with the gas car instead. And I only had to fill up my gas once on my way, and then I had to fill up another times on my way back. So my entire road trip, over 1,000 miles, I only had to stop twice, actually third time, before I dropped the car off on my last day. Plus my company paid for the rental, so I guess it wasn't too bad. However, if I drove my Tesla Model Y to Cleveland from where I am, I probably would have made at least 2 stops on my way to refuel, and then have to stop again, have to go to a supercharger again on my day 3 or day 4 once I was there, because I was driving around within the city to get to work. Then after being in the office for a couple of days, I probably would have to stop at least a couple more stops on my way back. So it was basically having to stop at a supercharger at least 5 to 6 times versus stopping at a gas station 3 times. And the pros and cons of having a gas car is you can basically find a gas station on the highway. You don't even have to take an exit. Whereas most superchargers are actually right around the highway, but you still have to get off the highway and then refuel and then having to come back. which you're actually losing time and wasting time. All right, so second reason you might want to consider avoiding a Tesla or EV is if you live in extremely hot or cold weather, you might want to consider actually avoiding a standard or shorter range EV. Like, you don't have to completely avoid EV or Tesla. So during extreme hot or cold weather, one, the car actually has to keep the battery warm. So it's basically burning energy to keep the battery warm. And two, you'll be blasting the AC or heat the entire time, probably the seat warmer as well. So if all these things combined, your mileage may vary. You'll not get nearly as many miles. So I'm currently based out of New York. It doesn't really get too cold here. So during the winter months, it probably gets like between about 15 or 20 degrees. I probably don't have to worry about for the most part. Yes, my mileage still varies by a couple of percentage, like about 5 to 10, but I'm not in a situation where like I'm worried about, okay, am I gonna make it to my destination? Because, you know, if it varies by about 20-25%, that's a big deal. So again, if you live in extremely cold or hot weather, it probably makes sense to actually get a longer range version of the Tesla Model 3 or the Model Y. If you lose, let's say about 20, 30 or even 50 miles of range, you're still gonna have enough juice left for you to go from point A to point B, whatever your destination is. All right, so last reason you might want to consider or even think about if Tesla is right for you is if you're not able to charge at home. If you live in an apartment or condo that you don't have a dedicated driveway or a garage and you're not able to charge your own car at your own place, it probably doesn't make sense to get a Tesla or EV for that matter. You see, the luxury of having a Tesla or EV for that matter is having the luxury of plugging it in at home and getting it fully charged by next morning, you're ready to go. However, if you regularly have to go to a supercharger or some other charging station to charge, I think this will get tiring and annoying very fast. I know I have experienced this firsthand. So at least few weeks out of the month, I live in an apartment or a condo where I rent that I personally don't have a dedicated garage or a driveway. So I'm not able to charge my Model Y at home here. So when I'm at the condo, I have to charge my vehicle on average about every 3-4 days. My only options are, one, I can go to a supercharger, which is about 11 miles from where I am. So I'm actually losing on average about an hour. It may not be bad if you think about it, but when you actually have to go out of your way to go to a supercharger and charge your vehicle, it probably gets exhausting. I'm probably at a point sometimes when I just get to a point where I'm like, you know what, I wish I had a regular normal car, because there is a gas station like a block away from where I am, and that would have been perfect. However, let's say if you do have a dedicated driveway or a garage where you can charge your vehicle, then yes, perfect. Then again, if you want to install a charger in that where you're renting, you would actually have to get a written permission from your landlord or the homeowners association, assuming they say it's okay for you to do so. So if you're moving every 2 years, that will get expensive very fast. So every time you install a wall connector somewhere, you would end up actually shelling out between $1,000 to $1,500. That's not cheap. That would get expensive over time if you, let's say, move 3, 4, 5 times over the life of your car. So again, if you're like most normal people that you don't really travel nearly as much, like where you go on a super long road trips, more than likely you're going to be fine as long as you have a dedicated driveway or a garage. And also, if you live in a super hot or cold weather, just consider getting something that is actually a long-range version of either Tesla or some other brand that you may like. So if I was living in a colder environment, I probably wouldn't get a short-range version of the Tesla Model 3 or the Model Y, because I think, you know, with the battery and plus the range fluctuation, it might really get close depending on how cold it gets, depending on where you have to go, depending on how far you travel. So for those reasons, I might actually consider getting a long range version of the Model 3 or the Model Y. And if you have made this far into the video, make sure you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, as this is a still brand new channel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.